G'day, folks, and welcome to the Spookcast, Australia's spookiest Nintendo podcast. My name's Oliver Brandt, and with me this week are Angelo Valdivia.
Hey, paisano!
Michael Goncalves.
Hey, team.
And Luke Henderson.
Boo.
We've got a great episode lined up for you, all about our biggest gaming fears, a new voice actor for Mario, the return of a classic, and a round of spooky 20 questions. Just before we get stuck in, I just want to remind everyone that we have a competition running. Listen to the last episode, episode 255, 256, the previous one before this one, to get all the details there. You could win some nice Switch gear.
Yes, we are a professional podcast now.
We are. I definitely have it written down somewhere.
Great.
So yeah, let's get stuck into it and talk about the spookiest thing of all, which is capitalism. So after 2 years of attempting to get its deal past regulators across the world, Microsoft has officially closed its acquisition of Activision Blizzard. So it cost Microsoft initially $68.9 billion US. I think it ended up inflating to like 78 billion because of the late fees and shit like that. To buy the publisher, which is the biggest acquisition in gaming history. When talking about the future of Call of Duty and stuff, Phil Spencer recently said that it was the future on Nintendo, which means that we're definitely not going to get any Call of Duty on the Switch, which I don't think anyone was expecting. But yeah. So yeah, this doesn't have a great deal of ramifications for the Switch, but like when we look back at like some Activision Blizzard games like Crash 4 or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, like those kinds of things are unlikely to come to Switch in the future. It sort of depends. Like I think if there was going to be another Tony Hawk's, it definitely wouldn't come to anything but Xbox, because that's quite a big get for Xbox. But yeah, what do we feel about this? Obviously, like
I think so. I think anything that has a multi-platform history would probably do well. Like would do well for Xbox to keep it multi-platform. But honestly, like who knows what with them? Like their messaging is all over the place. So I'd like to be, but
so like I think was it Bobby Kotick who was talking, apparently like mentioned something about like a revival of Guitar Hero. Could you imagine if Guitar Hero was an Xbox exclusive? That'd be nuts. That'd be absolutely crazy.
That franchise is dead.
I mean, I'd be fine with a resurgence, but like, yeah, I could not imagine that game being exclusive to just one platform. That'd be nuts.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the kind of thing that we're looking at here, is that there's like all these like massive like franchises now that like Microsoft owns, and like it could very well just decide to make all or most of them Xbox exclusive now, which is kind of what regulators really should have been doing. Instead, they were very much focused on the cloud, which is just the weirdest thing. Like the European Commission like forced Microsoft to like offer all of its stuff to any cloud streaming service that wanted it, and then like the UK's Competition and Markets Authority like forced them to sell the streaming rights of games to Ubisoft, because Ubisoft, I guess, is going to manage like streamed Microsoft games. Like it's just
it's like a weird like Sony owns
so
Spider-Man
strange.
and makes the movies, but it's still a Marvel property. It's just such a weird situation.
It's very, very dumb, and especially like with how much was put on streaming. It's like there's like maybe like a couple 100,000 people who regularly use Xbox game streaming. Angelo, you're one of them.
Out of necessity. I don't have a console with me. For listeners who don't know, like I've moved to Sydney for a job, which is why I'm sitting against the white wall here at the moment with some dramatic lighting. But like I'm one of those people now who at the moment are relying on cloud streaming to play Xbox games, and that's how I've been playing some games with my partner and stuff, which it works somewhat. Like as an absolute desperation, like it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah, works better in Sydney than it did in Adelaide, though, I bet.
We grab that quote and send it to Microsoft. In absolute desperation, it's okay.
Yeah, I didn't think of it like that. No, I think it's pretty much on par. It seems okay. I mean, like I was living in a pretty decent internet connected area in Adelaide, and I am now as well. So it seems fine. Imagine if
There's
you're
also
rural,
servers based in Melbourne, so he's probably connecting to those initially, and
Yeah.
the distance
I'd
isn't
imagine
too
if
much.
you're rural, then it's not great.
Or you live in WA.
Yeah, WA,
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's no like servers elsewhere except for the East
You're getting
Coast.
NVIDIA GeForce now, so you're fine.
Yeah, we have GeForce now for sure. I'm still amazed that we actually don't have Azure servers in WA. Like, I feel like
seems
that
nuts,
would be
right?
like a slam dunk, but whatever.
With Microsoft, though, the one thing that I want Phil to do, like, and this is the thing, Phil Spencer's always like, oh, I'll let the teams make their decisions. It's like, yeah, fine, Phil, that's great. Except you need to do one thing, and that is to disconnect every goddamn studio from Call of Duty. Because there are 9 studios that make Call of Duty content, and like Raven Software made the Wolfenstein games back on the Xbox generation, the Star Wars Jedi Outcast series, that was them. They also did something else. I did a bunch of Spider-Man games. Beanox have done Spider-Man
Beanox
games.
was
Like,
the Spider-Man studio. Dude, High Moon made some banger Transformers games.
yeah, so you've got these studios that were making amazing games, and then Kotick and his greedy shareholder bullcrap started forcing them to make Call of Duty skins. And you've got thousands of people a year making Call of Duty crap, and it's like, I get it, it makes them money, but at the same time, it's like, I was pulling a feature together, and I counted 10 years ago in 2012, Activision published 37 games in that fiscal year. Last year, they published 2, and both those games were Call of Duty related, because Warzone 2 released last year. So yeah, they need to do something about that.
And that's the thing, like, is like it's so much of Activision now, and even like Blizzard as well. So like, we've got Toys for Bob. It essentially doesn't exist anymore. All the staff are still there, but they're just like pumping out, Call of Duty skins.
Well, Toys for Bob's the exception, because they did Crash Team Rumble this year.
Yeah,
And they did Crash Bandicoot 4 like 2 years ago. They're the exception to the Call of Duty slog.
But like they still make Call of Duty skins. Like their artists are still there. And then we've got like Vicarious Visions, which is like the biggest like tragedy of the Activision saga, is that like they were making these fantastic games, and they made this phenomenal remake of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, and then like it didn't sell a trillion copies. So it's like, let's just fold it into Blizzard, get rid of like this iconic name that's been going for like 30 years, and then make them just do Call of Duty skins and like World of Warcraft mounts and shit. And it's like, well, we've got some really talented people who are just like looking at scans provided by the US Defense Department and then putting those into games. Like, and go on.
I'll give Vicarious Visions credit. They're now Blizzard Albany. Like, they did a really good job with the Diablo 2 Resurrected remake.
They did, yeah.
They were the lead studio on that. And I have to call this out. There's an Xbox fan, Cobrile, whatever his name is. He makes a whole bunch of things. And he put out, when the deal went through, he's like, oh, these are all the studios that Microsoft now own. And he put like 11 for Blizzard. And he's like, Blizzard Sydney. And it's like, Blizzard Sydney is a PR firm. Like 3/4 of that list is all PR. It's like, they're not development houses. There's no development house in London for Blizzard. So yeah.
But I mean, like, as terrible as it is that like one company owns like half the IP in gaming now, that there are like small upsides to it as well. Like the fact that Bobby Kotick is leaving at the end of this year, will no longer be involved at all with Activision Blizzard, when we know that he was like a gigantic piece of shit and behind a lot of the culture issues at Activision. That's huge. Like that's great. Microsoft is also generally, I say this with a huge grain of salt, generally accepting of unions, but I mean, it's America, so don't take that too seriously. And then I mean, there's the fact is that like most developers under Microsoft are a lot happier than most developers under Activision Blizzard right now. So maybe Toys for Bob will be allowed to come back and make a banjo.
I think in the short term, it's definitely going to be a net positive, but it's so hard to see what the outcome's going to be in 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd love to see Phil do more than anything is I'm obviously splitting up the Call of Duty conglomerate, but he has this thing about letting the developers be developers and take the time to make their games. And I was saying this to Vook yesterday when Ninja Theory put out a new dev diary about how they're doing, like they're literally making the outfits for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. They're making the outfits, they're doing the hair, they're doing the makeup, and then they're scanning in everything afterwards. So they're doing sort of the wetter way of doing it. So they actually have a real thing so people know how it's supposed to be. And I'm loving that. I'm loving that idea. But it's like that game was announced in 2020. It was the first Xbox Series X game announced, and we still don't have a release date. So Phil needs to stop letting them, just take all the time in the world and actually say, guys, get your game out, within 4 years, because.
Well, that's the balancing act, right? I mean, like Redfall was the shining example earlier this year of a studio that kind of had, full reign to go hog wild on their ideas, and it just never really kind of gelled or coalesced into a focused sort of project. And even Phil Spencer said, look, maybe in hindsight, that's something that we really needed to step in on and make sure, it kind of came on time, had proper direction, etc. So it goes both ways. But yeah, I think you're right in that sense, though. Like in terms of like a major publisher, it at least the head of Xbox has come out saying that, allowing studios to have their own artistic direction is a good thing. Or at least he's somewhat hands-off in terms of like artistically directing the games that they're sort of funding. So yeah, but it does kind of go both ways.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I mean, as I said, it doesn't really have like that much of an impact on Nintendo stuff, at least in the short term. But in the long term, I think we're going to see a lot more stuff that is Xbox exclusive that maybe in another world probably would have come to Switch. Which
I'd be very, very surprised if the vast majority of IPs aren't console exclusive.
Yeah, I think like multiplayer IPs that are like a big hit across multiple consoles right now. So like looking at things like Call of Duty and Diablo and stuff like that will probably continue to be multi-platform.
Mm-hmm.
But like if they can get an opportunity to make something, especially if it's like single player exclusive, they'll do it in an instant. Like if they don't think there's going to be huge backlash, they'll do it.
I have a little more of an optimistic sort of sense of Microsoft, only because they've demonstrated that they love money so much that they are willing to put their own properties on other consoles. I mean, we've seen that with like some of the Banjo crossovers to Nintendo. They were still good on their word about making Minecraft available to all platforms and things like that. So they've demonstrated that they love money enough to really like see that, okay, if I put games on as many consoles as I can, that benefits us financially as well. So.
Yeah, for sure. I think there is a limit to that. And I think Starfield is a perfect example.
Sure.
I mean?
No, absolutely. I agree.
That would have made a shit ton more money if it was on multi-platform, but
I think it would have just made more people more angry because of how average that game came out.
Yeah, you know what gamers are like. I'm gonna the classic boycott Modern Warfare 2 Steam like group image. Like
yeah, you're right.
They say whatever they want, they're gonna buy it. Like I'm sure Diablo releasing on Steam is the same, right? It's got mixed reviews on Steam, but I saw a shit ton of people bought it on Steam. Like it doesn't matter.
Overwatch.
People just buy this crap all the time. Overwatch, yeah.
Yeah, well that's the thing, like Overwatch is like the lowest ever reviewed game on Steam. Overwatch 2 is right now. But then like it's like consistently in the top 20 for like playtime and concurrent users. It's like, well, it can't be that bad, huh? I mean it is, but like people will just play it anyway. Anyway, like personally as somebody who owns an Xbox, like obviously it's quite fun that I no longer have to pay for like most games. But like it also obviously comes with downsides that like we can't really predict and can't really see how it's going to go in the future, which it's just a bit of a bummer. But like if I want to check out a new Activision or Blizzard game, I don't have to pay $70 for it now. So
yeah, I mean
on a personal level, not bad.
Yeah, there's just tangent to that. He was on an Xbox podcast where he talked about all the games. They're not shadow dropping everything onto Game Pass. like they sort of did with the Bethesda stuff, because the Bethesda deal went through without any real issues. It just kept going. Whereas this one, because they didn't know when it would complete, they couldn't do all that preemptive stuff. So like a whole bunch of stuff will come in 2024, but nothing before then. But it's like I'd love to see a lot of the old back catalog that's sort of been delisted. Not the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not the Platinum games, because some of those aren't the best. But I just love to see some of the more obscure older games that Activision have delisted for whatever reason sort of get a resurgence, because some of that's pretty good. Like again, the Raven made Wolfenstein games. They were Activision owned the publishing rights to those because its software was independent at the time. Bethesda didn't own them, so now Microsoft own all the Wolfenstein games again. Literally, that just came to me. So there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes, I guess. We'll probably revisit this in like a year and see how everything's gone to shit. I'm also like super concerned because like what we've seen with Embracer lately of like a company that just like buying up like hundreds and hundreds of studios and then just like laying off thousands of staff afterwards.
It's so weird like looking at that situation, because like looking from the outside, you just like, how's this gonna work? Like this doesn't make any sense. You're just pouring so much money into like all these studios, like something's gonna fold. And then these studios weren't like immediately successful like at the microsecond after they were purchased, and they were just dissolved and shot into the sun. And I'm like, okay, like what's the purpose of purchasing these? Like why did you do that?
Well, like what we know from Embracer is that like they were like betting hard on getting $2 billion of investment from the Saudi investment fund. And then that fell through. And then they just decided to scrap everything and burn all of their developers, which is not surprising, but probably would not have been that much better under the Saudi investment fund, which like demands like super strong returns as well. So
it makes me sad because they own Tomb Raider, and I love Tomb Raider, and I want more Tomb Raider.
Yeah, well, I mean, Amazon's
doing
making
a new Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
And it's Amazon are doing it. So
I mean,
yeah, they don't have the greatest track record. Amazon Game Studios.
Crystal Dynamics are still making it, but Amazon's funding it. So
yeah, but like, who knows how many staff even going to be left at Crystal Dynamics by the end of all this, right? Like,
yeah, true. I will say though, to Michael's point, Paradox Interactive, they're a publishing group. They published out Harebrained Schemes, The Lamplighter League, like 2 weeks ago. The game did not sell. It was in Game Pass. Nobody cared. And I think it's because there was no marketing for it. Like, it was just one of those, we made a game, here it is, sort of releases. And within like a week of that game coming out, the company's like, yeah, look, we're separating now. We're going our separate ways because, visions are different. It's like, yeah, you didn't make the money you thought you'd make, so you're offloading the studio.
And that's like a huge bummer because like Lamplighters League is fantastic. But it's just kind of gone now.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we love it, huh? And then like, sorry, I'm gonna keep going on about this. I see people on Twitter. They're like, oh no, this is genuinely a good thing for the industry because like eventually there'll just be like one console and you can play all of your games on that. I was like, do you not see how fucking terrible that is? Like, that's just the worst. Like, you've just described like literally my worst nightmare.
There was a John Oliver Last Week Tonight episode like 8 years ago now about monopolies, and AT&T in America in the 80s were the only carrier. Like, if you wanted to make international calls, you had to be on AT&T. Right? If you wanted to make interstate calls, you had to be on AT&T. And when the government came in and said, no, you can't have that anymore, you have to separate your businesses, like all these other carriers, T-Mobile, all that sort of stuff, they popped up essentially overnight. And the amount of money people were spending on their phone bills plummeted. Because instead of it being $1 a minute, it was like 10 cents a minute, right? Everything just plummeted because there wasn't one company owning and ruling every aspect of that industry. So
yeah.
Well, so this is kind of the point of this is the point of like organizations like the CMA in the UK, the ACCC in Australia, the FTC in America. While for a lot of gamers, they're just your average Joe kind of thing. It's just these government bodies getting in the way of corporate progression or whatever. It's like, well, these authorities exist specifically to make sure that companies don't monopolize and they don't consolidate industries and things like that, and markets. Because the more competition, the more avenues for choice there are, the better it is for the consumer. So
yeah, got to remember, you can thank the ACCC for refund policies on Steam. Like that's directly from them.
And warranties and things like that. If your console is balked upon arrival, you can get it replaced for free from the manufacturer, etc. Like the whole point of these things.
Also, like there's like the recent PlayStation thing where like PlayStation tried to argue that like once you've downloaded it, you've accepted that it's in that condition and you can't return it.
Yeah, I remember that.
And like there's still like, okay, so I bought Spider-Man today, Spider-Man 2. And like it still makes you say like, oh, I accept this exactly as it is, and I can't get refunds. And it's like, okay, but like we already know that you lost that court case, so like you can say that all you like, but like the ACCC disagrees. Anyway, thank God for regulators, huh?
And you can personally contact the ACCC and seek help, and they will look into it. Like that's the point of these things. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I was just saying regulators are good, and I wish they had more teeth in more countries because like they should be looking at these kinds of like mega deals and stopping them from happening, or at least like making sure that they don't lead to monopolies.
And again, like people laugh about the CMA, like people are like, oh, it's just about cloud streaming or whatever. But again, like that's their job. Their job is to get in the way of this to make sure that no one's, pulling any funny business or anything like that. It's the entire point of their existence is to get in the way in case there is some shenanigans.
Yeah. Moving on to our next story. This one's a little bit more fun. So after a surprising amount of secrecy for like the past 4 months, new voice actor for Mario and Luigi has been revealed. It's Kevin Afghani. He revealed the news on Twitter after it was revealed earlier in the year that Charles Martinet would be stepping down, and he's previously voiced roles in a whole bunch of anime and in Genshin Impact. I think that's his only game credit, as far as I could tell. I've been playing Wonder. Michael, I know you've been playing Wonder as well because I've seen your name pop up when I've been playing it.
So I've played Wonder while Spider-Man was installing. Spider-Man took a long time to install. It was like 90 gigs, and copying that shit off disk takes like an hour. So in the hour that Spider-Man was installing, I played Wonder. But in that 1 hour, goddamn, that game is fantastic.
It's so good, yeah. We'll probably talk more about that later, but I think just in terms of the voices, I've played as a couple hours as both Mario and Luigi, and it's really good. There are parts where it's like he's clearly just like aping Martinet's performance, which like does a really good job of. And then there are other like voice lines where it's like clearly something new and different, and it has like a lot of personality to it. Specifically with Luigi, I think it shows most with him. But yeah, really, really great voice performance. So, yeah.
Didn't like it. I think it's horrible.
Wow.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I love it. And who was it? Mick Wingett, I think, is the voice of the flowers. And that's great too. But
the only line I heard from the flower, apart from in the trailers, is I went into the settings and you can have talking on, speech on, talking off, like speech bubbles on, talking on, speech bubbles off. You can't have the flowers be like not in the game at all. And I turned it off, and the voice goes, "Was it something I said?" And I was like, "Yes, it was." I haven't heard them since because I knew going into the game I would not want to hear them.
So much.
I think they're great.
Yeah, I think it just like it adds more personality to just moment to moment gameplay, and like I can understand why some people wouldn't like that because it's just sort of like constantly narrating it. But I don't know. I think there are a lot of moments where like an otherwise dull section of a level gets elevated by the fact that there's like a flower saying stupid shit.
Yeah, I would almost argue that amidst an entire like acid trip of a video game that this game is, like it is the like most sane voice that's displayed in the entire game.
I mean,
like,
that's true.
Like,
it does help with grounding.
Yeah, like he's just constantly questioning what's happening, whereas Mario's like, this is normal.
Yeah, but yeah, no, we will talk about that a little bit later because I think we've all been playing it. But yeah, so it's good that we've got new voice actors in the mix. He's not the only one. There's a few others as well. But Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the next Mario game, to see if they stick with Kevin Afghani or if they pick a different voice actor for each game, depending on the tone of the game or whatever. Because obviously for the past 30 years we've just had Charles Martinet constantly for every game. And it'll be really interesting to see as well when WarioWare Move It, is that what it's called? I can't remember.
Yeah.
When that comes out, because that isn't Charles either, so...
Well, is this guy the voice of Wario as well? Like, is it a prerequisite that he has to voice everyone?
And then we get Charles again next year with Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. So
Yeah. Before we move on, I've got some things I want to throw at you guys. So, a little bit of trivia here. Super Mario 64 was released originally in Japan in late June 1996, right? Kevin Afghani was born on the 9th of November 1996. He is literally younger than Super Mario 64, the first 3D voice of Mario. That's absolutely nuts to me. I think that's so crazy. Going back to Charles Martinet though, do you guys know what his first appearance as Mario is?
Is it something like commercial?
I'm just going by IMDb. It could be a commercial, but in terms of an actual catalog.
It's like Mario teaches typing or some stupid thing along those lines.
Yeah, it's Mario teaches typing in 1991, the CD-ROM edition. But on a Nintendo console, though, his first voiced appearance was in Super Punch-Out as the announcer in 1994, and but his first blowing the doors off the hinges appearance as Mario is Super Mario 64 in 1996. So the current voice of Mario, the new voice of Mario, is younger than Super Mario 64, which is nuts to me. Getting old is terrible.
It is. I saw one of those stats the other day. I can't even remember what it was, but I was like, I don't want to know that. I don't want to know how old things are ever anymore.
Oh man, that's why I had to get out of being a teacher, constantly reminding you how old you are. Kids stay the same age, but you keep getting older.
I mean, even Luke just before saying 10 years ago in 2012, I was like, that's not it.
2012 was 11 years ago.
No.
Dude, Gangnam Style is 11 years old.
Oh, that's terrible.
God.
The Wii U is 11 years old. It's in year 5. Oh,
well.
Anyway.
More Mario stuff. So the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Movie is getting a fully restored 4K release on Blu-ray next year. It's from Umbrella Entertainment, which is a fantastic Australian company that does restorations of old films using the original film reels. And it's 1993 Mario. What's not to love? So we've actually seen kind of a restored version of this in the past. This is a new scan, isn't it, Michael? I haven't looked into it. I assumed you would know.
Yes, it's a brand new scan.
All right, so it's different from the one that came out in 2019.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Umbrella is great. Just super nice guys. And if you have a request, as Michael and I have discovered, you can ask them, and then sometimes they'll get it.
Yeah. Sometimes years later, it'll finally happen. And it doesn't matter if you potentially had zero impact on that. You'll take the win.
What I would like to know is, when do we get the Criterion collection of this film? When does that come, Michael?
Never. This is I will be amazed if there is another studio worldwide that releases this in 4K.
Dude,
I'm absolutely amazed.
Who has the distribution rights to that? Does Nintendo have any say in it at all, or is it just the studio, the film studio?
It'll just be the film studio. I don't think they'll have any rights whatsoever.
Nintendo have nothing to do with this film.
They
Which is
want
evident by the fact
that they don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I will say though, 2018, 2018, one of the PAXs, they actually they did a movie night on the Saturday night. They actually screened the not the uncut, but they found the deleted scenes and they put them in there and they restored them and all that. They had actually
print.
But they that was the first time that was shown off, was at PAX Australia. So
that was in 2019.
Isn't the running gag at PAX that whenever like it comes to, because it's like the movie night event or whatever, that is the film that always gets voted. Did I read or hear
It's happened a couple times, yeah.
Okay. I thought it was like
Whenever
an
they
ongoing
put it
thing
to a
where,
vote,
like,
it ends up.
yeah, I thought it was an ongoing thing where like whenever like they have films available to vote, like this is the one that always wins and everyone just wants to go and see it.
So this release actually comes with the work print on, I think, was it? No, I think it's only on the Insane Edition. The Insane Edition comes with 3 discs, and on that 3rd disc is the work print in HD. I say HD, I don't know if that means 720p or 1080p. I'm gonna go with 720p, because I feel like that's the thing that would happen.
480i, according to the Wii.
I don't expect it to be the best of quality. I'm sure it's going to be the absolute minimal of like remasters, like probably literally just a scan. But it's still pretty cool either way.
So the Trust the Fungus edition, which is the big one, that's what it's called, includes the restoration from the original camera negative, a 250-page hardback bound book including a host of production materials, interviews and artwork, 200-page bound book of script including early drafts, which that would be insane. Like, what the hell was the early draft of this movie?
Dude, there are so many drafts of this film. There are literally dozens of drafts of the script. Like, so many writers were attached to this project.
Yeah. A piece of film, like an actual piece of film. A replica A6 1993 34-page souvenir magazine. Artwork in a slipcase, a rigid slipcase. 8 replica lobby cards. 2 A3 reversible posters featuring the UK, Australian, Thai, and Japanese posters, a sticker sheet, and it's a numbered thing. So there's a lot in that collection, in that big one. So if you're a fan, that'll be the one to go for.
You know what's a wild thing to think about is that we live in the timeline where there are still original negatives of this film available in the world to remaster from, and there aren't any at all of Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yeah,
crazy.
It's so good.
I just want to correct myself. Sorry, you can get the 3rd disc in the normal collector's edition. That is still $110, but the normal edition only comes with the 4K and the Blu-ray, so you won't get the work print.
Yeah. So if you want the big edition, it's like $150, isn't it?
Yeah, 150 and then 110 for the.
I think we should all
and
get
then
it. I think we should.
$60 for just the 4K.
Well, I'm definitely get it because I have a brain problem when it comes to movies. So, like, I'm getting it regardless. But you guys should also jump on board.
Yeah, we should have.
I mean, we've mentioned it enough times that I'm sure Umbrella will send us a copy each.
Yeah, absolutely. To the soundtrack.
Just while we're here talking about Umbrella, everybody should go over to Umbrella's website and order a copy of Hercules Returns on Blu-ray.
Yes.
Michael and I are both big fans of this film. Michael, you actually introduced me to it, and then it became one of my favorite films of all time. I genuinely think it's probably the best Australian film ever made.
It's very, very good. If you enjoy Australian comedy and just dumb tomfoolery, it's a fantastic film.
Yeah, and you can actually still buy the collector's edition. If you haven't watched it before, maybe don't just jump in on the $80 collector's edition. Just spend $40 to get the regular Blu-ray, or just take a chance. You trust us.
I love it in the world of video games. You guys are praising a company called Umbrella for re-releasing the Mario movie.
I know.
But no, I mean it's good, and the work that they did on Hercules Returns is really, really good. It's an absolute pleasure to watch. And yeah, so yeah, buy some stuff from Umbrella. Because it is an Australian company, and it's only got a few employees, and they do really, really good work. Alrighty, just a quick bit of news. Bandai Namco shut down Pac-Man Battle Royale game a couple weeks ago, and then the day after they shut it down, they announced a new Pac-Man Battle Royale game. As you do. So they shut down Pac-Man 99 because nobody was playing it anymore, which, fair.
Is anyone ever playing it?
Well, no, not really. It was the first day, and then the second day it was difficult to get a full lobby, so don't blame them for shutting it down. Anyway, this new one is called Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle Chomp Champs. Jesus Christ. And it's an enhanced port of an Apple Arcade game. So it it's actually Stadia, isn't it? I don't know why I put
was
Apple
Stadia
Arcade,
initially,
then it
went
Stadia,
to...
yeah. There's a version of it. somewhere. Yeah. Anyway, it was on Stadia. Stadia's dead now, and now they're bringing it to everything basically. We don't know a lot about when it's coming out exactly. It's just sometime in 2024, right? And we also know that it won't be free. Because why would you make a free game?
This is also
I look forward to this game being DOA.
Yeah, it's also the 19th Pac-Man game on Switch at this point, with the various Namco museums and all that sort of stuff. So,
I would argue there hasn't been a good Pac-Man game since Pac-Man Championship Edition 2.
I think the majority of people would argue that.
Yeah,
People
I think
froth
anyone
that game.
Dude, it's so good. Oh, so good.
I don't mind Pac-Man 256. That was done by the guys who did Crossy Road.
Oh yeah, I didn't play that one. Yeah, I never
They brought
tried
that to
one.
console, so
Yeah.
not a bad one.
Yeah, I mean, I probably won't ever play Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle Chomp Champs. I just have no interest in it. But
For me, Pac-Man peaked on the GameCube with Pac-Man Versus and the 3 Game Boy Advances and link cables required to play that one.
Exactly. They should bring back link cables. Just make it so much harder for everyone. Just like let me plug a USB-C cable into my Switch and somebody else's Switch and like trade Pokemon over it. You know, why not? Bring back the old days. Anyway, final bit of news is that there's a whole bunch of Animal Crossing Lego sets coming. So there's I think like 6 sets in total.
Six
Six sets in total. And you know they all come with minifigs, and I think they're doing blind bags for minifigs as well, aren't they? Something like that.
There's no
Not yet. They haven't
individual
announced
minifigs
it.
at this stage, but it's
We'll see.
it's Lego and they love their minifig collection, so they probably will at some point.
The minifigs are super cute. And yeah, it looks nice. The most expensive set, which is the Nook's Cranny and Rosie's House, because I guess they couldn't just give you Nook's Cranny, is $120, and then the cheapest set is $20, which is just Julian's birthday party, which is like a tree and a table and shit. But yeah, I mean, it's cute. I think I'm sort of beyond buying Nintendo Lego. I bought a bunch of the Mario stuff and then never built it, and now I'm like, yeah, you know, maybe I won't get this. But the Nook's Cranny is like super cute, so I may end up doing it anyway.
I just noticed
forget to
Nook
get
has
any
his
Nintendo Lego,
Animal
I still
Crossing
really
New
wanna get
Horizon shirt on.
Sorry.
What?
Sorry.
You guys
I'll let-
both talked at exactly the same time for the same amount of length, and I did not hear a single word.
I'll let Luke go first. Sorry.
I was just saying because I've got the video up. I've got the slide up on the screen for the people watching the video, and Nook's wearing his Animal Crossing New Horizon shirt. So that's it.
I was going to say that I haven't gotten any Nintendo Lego yet, and I'm still really wanting to get the question block set. But this looks really nice. I'm noticing a distinct lack of Mr. Rossetti though.
Oh, he'll be in Wave 5.
Yeah, I hope so. I just want like
I will
just
say,
like 50 of him sitting around my desk at any point.
Anytime you break down a Lego set, Mr. Rossetti appears.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say they did also recently announce a Piranha Plant Lego set that is like quite reasonably priced and is super cool, and I'll probably get that because I think it looks cute. But yeah, so Animal Crossing Lego, you know.
I only have that in the NES, and if they had a SNES, I'd probably get that as well. I'm down with that, but it'll also probably be the US SNES, which throw that in the fucking garbage.
Purple. Yeah.
But I'm also like slightly. I know this wouldn't happen, but like it would be cool if these minifigs were also amiibo. Just saying.
Yeah.
There's
Or at
nothing
least if they
stopping you
came
from
with an
getting
amiibo
the.
card or something.
As I say, nothing stopping you from getting the amiibo card and cutting out the NFC and sticking it into its foot.
Yeah.
I mean, or just buy one of those multi-packs where it's like 50 cheap little NFC cards from Amazon that come with all the amiibo data on it.
Oh, on Android, you can absolutely just NFC spoof everything.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm saying about like just cutting them out and sticking it to the bottom of the feet, you know.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Not that we're advocating that anyone pirates Amiibo, Nintendo, if
No.
you're listening. But, you know, options are, but I don't.
Piloting
I
an NFC chip.
I mean, apart from Animal Crossing New Horizons, the only other time Amiibo for Animal Crossing did anything was in Animal Crossing. What was it? The party one.
The Amiibo Festival.
That's the one. You know, the one that came with Amiibo and nobody played it because nobody cared in the slightest because it was like Mario Party, but like 1,000 times worse.
I bought the special edition of that game solely for the Amiibo, and I literally never put the disc in my Wii U. I was like, wow, these Amiibo are really cool. I will have those.
I bought it to complete out my Wii U collection, and it was literally $10 with the reader from EB Games. It was like on clearance so hard.
Yeah, I think I spent like $40 on like the special edition that came with the Amiibo, and I was like, yeah, sure. But yeah. Anyway, Amiibo are kind of dead now, aren't they? I mean, in the grand scheme of things.
We'll see. So the Sora Amiibo is coming sometime next year. There's a few more for Smash, and we know Xenoblade Chronicles is getting some later this year, early next year. But I think once Sora is released, that'll be the final Smash Amiibo, and I don't think it's unlikely they'll do any more because they're tapering off a lot.
We've talked about it before, but like without there being like a steady way to buy Amiibo, like just don't do it. Just stop doing it. It's super annoying having like an exclusive Amiibo locked off content for Amiibos that no one can purchase. It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's nice that they've been doing restocks of them. Like that's fantastic, but at the same time, they're not actually making the use of them in games worthwhile. It's always
that's the thing, right? It's like they can't because they can't guarantee supply of it, right? It's like whenever they've done it, it's like it's sold out instantly. Like the Skyward Sword one, like didn't get restocked for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then like that's like a major quality of life feature that was just like locked behind an Amiibo and nobody could use it because they only like had 3 of them to sell. And then like with the squishy Metroid one, which is like, my favorite Amiibo. I'm so glad that I managed to get one. Like that unlocked like a whole ass game mode in the Metroid 2 remake. So like, I'm kind of glad that they're just like not really doing that anymore. Because like if there was a way like in the system, it's like I could pay like $5 to just like get that feature, right? Like I would probably do it. Right, if it was just like a, get this Amiibo function, then it would be worth it. Because then I don't have to like buy the figures and like rush against scalpers to do so. But
they charge you full Amiibo price for it.
Yeah, like $30.
But the only game that ever did that was Starlink. You could actually have the physical ships if you wanted them, but if you didn't, you could just buy the digital one. You were fine. That's the only game that's ever done that. So
surprisingly good game.
Yeah,
but then there's a lot of
too because it's got the Star Fox stuff.
Yeah. It's like one of the best Star Fox games ever, but nobody.
I think it's the best Star Fox game ever because it's not, locked to a stupid plane all the time. I do want to call out one news story, Ollie, just before we chop off to the featured topic. So Nintendo have announced that the Wii U and 3DS online play will be discontinued in April of next year. No specific date or anything. I don't recall if it was the eShops were going down as well, like to buy things, to re-download things.
No. Re-downloading will stay for as long as Nintendo will allow it. Like it's going to be a long time before that stops.
Yeah. So basically, they finally got Mario Kart 8 on Wii U fixed, and then like a month after they fixed it, they said, "By the way, we're shutting this down." So, yeah. I don't think anyone's playing Wii U online at this point, and the 7 people that still play Federation Force globally will eventually just have to suck it up and stop playing that game.
We'll hear from them because they're all in the Discord, so...
We sure will, yeah.
But yeah, so it's just one of those small things.
Ultimately, what's going to happen is exactly what happened with the Wii and the DS, is that somebody's going to spin up a third-party like server for it, and it's just going to continue on that way. So like I don't like care so much that like it's going down. Like it's a bummer because like it's a big corporation and like it costs them basically nothing to keep them up. But then there's a whole bunch of security stuff that goes into it as well, and I understand that like it's vectors for attack, and they've got like exorbitant licensing fees for these really old systems, and like from a business perspective, it's like okay, sure, like whatever, do that if you want to do it. But like like to the end player, like the second it shuts down, there's going to be like somebody who spins up another server system for it that is going to work exactly the same anyway. So like that you can already do like Miiverse right now, because somebody spun up like a Miiverse replacement that you just like pop a DNS into your 3DS or Wii U, and it just works as Miiverse used to work. So like online play servers are going to work exactly the same. Like nothing is being lost here really. It's just Nintendo isn't going to be paying for it anymore, which is dumb, but it's a business, so who cares?
Yeah, I just thought it was funny that news came out like a month after they finally fixed, Mario Kart. So
yeah. All right, let's move into our feature discussion. It is the Spookcast. This should be going out on or near Halloween, with any luck. We'll see how that goes. But this is just sort of a vague discussion topic, because I couldn't think of one and just came up with it like 10 minutes before we started. So I wanted to know what everybody's like biggest gaming fear is. Now this could be like fears within games. So like Michael, I know that like chasing things is like a big thing for you.
Yeah, I feel like I've extensively discussed mine already.
But like or like other gaming fears. So like I'll speak about one that I have. I actually wrote about this for work kind of recently. Is that like I'm absolutely terrified that when Hollow Knight Silksong eventually does come out, it's not going to be good.
What do you mean? What is that game?
Is it because the hype will be so high for it?
Well, like just like even if there wasn't the hype, there, like I don't know. I played it in like 2019, maybe 2018. Jeez, it was a long time ago.
It was 2019.
And like it was fantastic then, but like it's been like 4 years, right? Like it like maybe they just like let scope creep like build up and it's just gone out of control and like it's a bit unpolished and just kind of shit to play.
I think at this point it is. It's not going to be bad, but I think at this point it's not going to be good simply because it's taken so long. Like nothing could possibly be that good that it's taken this long.
Yeah, it can't live up to the hype that's sort of been created around it. Is that like everybody's waited this long for the sequel to Hollow Knight?
But that's not a Hollow Knight thing. That's a hype thing in general. Like when somebody says this movie's amazing, you have to see this movie. I love this movie, and you watch and you're like, yeah, it was fine. It's not what you hyped it up to be, but because people have that expectation.
My friends actually have a term for this. It's called the Princess Bride syndrome. Because we hyped up The Princess Bride to one of our friends who hadn't seen it for a long, long time. And they finally watched it and they fucking hated it.
That's such a great name for it. It's so random.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was just going to say that the fear for Hollow Knight, I mean, it is justified, but it's the same with any game that's in that long development cycle. But my biggest gaming fear isn't a fear so much, is it's when a game auto saves and then it like hiccups. It's like the save interrupts the game, like it's loading stuff and it saves and it hiccups and you're like, oh, I'm always paranoid that it's going to like crash at that point and like delete the save. Like that is my biggest fear for tech-wise in gaming because, it's just one of those things where when a game's auto save and that's the only option and then it has issues and you're like, nope, don't like that.
That sort of reminds me, in that like I'm like quite terrible at like closing games after I finish playing them. Like I'm used to the Switch where like I'll just press the power button and then like pick it up like a week later or whatever. But like the PS5 by default will just like update a game that is like running in sleep mode. So like if I'm like playing a game and I haven't like saved in a while, like most games have auto saves, but like not all of them. And then like I'll just like open up my PlayStation. It's like, oh yeah, this updated, so we closed it for you. And it's like, well, fucking, why did you do that? I was like, it was open. Did you not? It's frustrating.
No,
but
the best part about PlayStation consoles is their own inbuilt Mr. Resetti feature, where there's a blackout and it turns off, and then it just starts telling you off.
It gets so fucking mad at you.
Like it's not my fault.
I forgot to talk about this. They finally rolled out that you can check for an update in your games menu on PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so happy. Like, it's happened. Oh, man.
You can turn the beep off. You can turn the beep on your PlayStation off. when it turns on, but it doesn't stop the angry triple beep that it does when you have a blackout, which like is like, God, I hate that noise so much. Like it genuinely gives me anxiety.
I don't mind the beep so much because then it tells me that the PlayStation has turned itself on when it wasn't supposed to, and so I'm able to go up and turn it off. It's
yeah, my TV does like weird stuff with the HDMI control stuff where it just like will like randomly in the middle of the night turn my PlayStation on, but the TV itself doesn't turn on. It's
the place the new place that I'm living at the moment. They've got a PS4 Pro hooked up to the TV, and yeah, they've got a Samsung Smart TV. And every time I manually close the Disney Plus app, it just turns on the PS4 Pro for some reason. I'm not turning off the TV, just closing that app.
I know exactly why, because it would automatically change to one of the HDMI ports, and that'll trigger the HDCP to turn on. Not HDCP.
HDMI.
The CEC.
Yeah, CEC. Thank you. My brain's getting off.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So, but in terms of my fear, I guess sorry, I'm just jumping in now. I guess my fear, at least up until this generation of consoles, was that last gen we had so many damn cameras hooked up to our consoles that I had so many cameras just pointing at me that I was worried that like one day like my bollocks were just going to get streamed to like PlayStation or something. But like, thank God we don't have that issue anymore. But in terms of like something actually fearful about playing games, for me it's atmosphere a lot of the time. Because like with films and things like that, like, you know, a lot of the good scares are about anticipation, like, you know, something's about to happen, and so you've already got that like self-defense kind of mechanism where like you're kind of really tense and you're just waiting for it to happen, and then it happens, you're like, oh God, what a thrill. But with games, like, you're kind of in control of it yourself, so like it's really up to you to kind of walk down that hallway or, you know, look behind you or something like that. That really kind of irks me. It's great.
So, I saw a video during the week. Somebody, you know, modded Dead Space, and it's like when you're like super OP, you're now the monster. So Isaac Clarke's like, "Where are you going? Come back!" And he just starts jumping in vents and chasing down all the necromorphs. Just
your
the way he was saying it just made me laugh.
I mean, like,
oh my God.
On that, there's a thing that I've experienced a couple times now. I don't know if I actually mentioned it on the podcast before, but like when it's something that is like familiar but in a different context, it like really gives me a lot of anxiety. So like I first experienced it when I was playing Mario Maker for the first time, where like it seems like the stupidest thing, but like after having played Mario like all my life, jumping into a random level and then just like going through a door and being like dropped into a pit of spikes, right? Like that was like a kind of terrifying experience, because like it was the thing that I know and love, which was like Mario, in like this whole new context that like Nintendo would never do this to me, but like now it's possible in this official Nintendo product.
You say that, but in Wonder there is fake doors that are enemies, and they jump at you.
But then the second time is that like I had never played Metroid Prime until the Metroid Prime Remastered, and obviously I'm a huge fan of the 2D Metroid games. But then like those like. Nobody told me that like Metroid Prime is like essentially a horror game.
It's 100% a horror game. Phase on Mines, fuck that place.
Even just like the opening is just like, it's all this stuff that's like familiar to me, right? It's like it's the language of Metroid, it's the visual design of Metroid, but like it's from a first-person perspective, and like things can creep up on you and jump out at you, and like that doesn't happen in 2D Metroid, but like it's still like the visual language that I'm used to.
Like Super Metroid is way more horror. It's probably like one of the most horror games that Nintendo has made. I mean, the opening scene is just a bunch of dead scientists on the ground with a floating Metroid in the middle of the room, and like it's relatively grotesque in how some of its enemies sort of like maneuver and just look and things like that. And even atmosphere again. Metroid games have fantastic atmosphere. It's so spooky.
Yeah, but it was purely just like, and again, because like I had played obviously Metroid Dread before that, and obviously before that Metroid Fusion, and like those both have like chase things that are terrifying. But like just like having like the world of Metroid recontextualized in that first-person view in 3D and having all of that stuff there was just like genuinely terrifying, and I had to like push through that to like actually see more of the game, because
I think in Metroid Prime, even though the majority of the games are like this, specifically Metroid Prime, the sense of that you are truly alone on this world is really, really impactful. Like you feel it like so much as you walk around the world. Like the world around you is decrepit, it's dead. No one has lived on this planet for like tens of thousands of years, and like it really, really grinds you down.
I think it also helps because in Prime, you're only seeing a very limited amount of the world, whereas in all the 2Ds, you're always center of the screen, unless you're going in or out of a room. So you always have a big 360-degree view of everything around you. So I think that also helps change the tone up a little bit.
But also, like, the only time you ever hear your protagonist's voice is when, like, something bad is happening to her. Like, you never hear her laugh or talk to herself. It's always like, "Ah! Ah!" Or, like, screams, like, when she just gets absolutely murdered. Like,
yeah. And, like, it was, like, I had heard about it before, but, like, actually experiencing it when Samus is scared and then there's, like, lightning or, like, a flash of light or whatever, and you just, like, briefly see, like, Samus's face, that is, like, such an effective tool in, like, atmosphere building.
The first time I experienced that, like, it really just, like, it was a real, like, my brain took a screenshot moment. I'm like, oh, geez, all right. Like, it just, that really hit me the first time it happened.
I will say, playing playing Tears of the Kingdom earlier this year, when I was on the edge of islands, like, trying to get to, like, you know, the perfect site and all that, and walking on platforms in the air, I find myself clenching now. Like, it's like, oh god, oh god, oh god. And then I was playing something else for review, and I was trying to find something, and I was literally walking to the edge of these platforms, and I'm looking down, and I'm clenching. I'm not scared of heights in any way, shape, or form. I have no issue with heights. But in these games, I'm like walking to the edge of these digital worlds, and I'm like, oh god, okay. And then, you know, when I back off, I'm like, oh, thank God that's over, right? Like, I've discovered that this year of being something that sort of concerns me and why I don't know, but it does.
See, you know, I played Tears of the...
It's because we're getting older and we're getting closer to the age now where we no longer fall over, we have a fall. And that's what we're worried about.
See, I played Tears of the Kingdom like I was like 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Like, I just like fucking like, there's a cliff, I'll just leap off it, right? Like, I did not give a shit. Like, oh yeah, here's a dragon, I'll just go and like throw shit at it, see what happens.
Like the Terminal Montage Breath of the Wild video?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know, like, something about, like, Tears of the Kingdom, like, makes you kind of feel empowered there, and, like, I had no fear in that game. But, like, there are other games that I've definitely experienced that, and something that, I'll let you go, Michael, because, you know, this is unrelated, I'm just going into a different topic.
Everyone knows mine. Like, I hate being chased by stuff in games, like, just the fear of being pursued by something, even in something that I know is not real, just like gets into my brain quite badly. But this is a bit of a joke answer, but also at the same time a little bit serious. Something else that actually annoys me is low frame rates. I know this sounds really stupid, but here, like, bear with me. I actually am genuinely very sensitive to it. Like, if a frame rate hitches down, like if one frame rate gets dropped, I notice it immediately. And it actually really pulls me out of playing or being inside of a game, because it's just an extra thing that distracts me. Even in games that like have pretty much perfect frame rates on consoles, as soon as there's that one weird hitch, or like Luke said, when you hit like an auto save point and the game like hitches, like that really, really takes me out of games like so much. Like, I spend a disgusting amount of money on PC hardware, so I don't ever have to feel that feeling of frame rates getting dropped. So people like meme about it all the time, about like, oh, why do people care if a game is like 30 FPS or, you know, 60 or whatever it is, right? But like, to me, it genuinely makes a difference. I don't mind 30 FPS sometimes, depending on the game. But like, for me, it's 60 FPS and it needs to be freaking solid. Otherwise, it really screws up a game for me.
I will say the Warrior Within, the Prince of Persia Warrior Within game. Like, I don't care about things chasing me. That happens, fine. But that game, when that I can't remember what it's called. It's like the time beast thing. because the prince in the first game in Sands of Time, he undoes what he did, so it's now a different timeline. And the beast starts chasing him down. That opening of the game, where he's all hardcore rock and everything, and then you're like, cool, it starts off very Prince of Persia-esque, normal Sands of Time stuff, and then all of a sudden, this giant, 12-foot tall smoke demon thing just starts appearing all around you and chasing you down. I remember that being terrifying when that came out, so I can see Michael's point.
I'd love to watch Michael play a stream of Alien Isolation.
Oh, never. I've talked about this so often with people. I think I would actually die. The game interests me a lot because I've seen people stream some of it. I love Alien. I love the Alien universe. That game oozes Alien aesthetic. They nailed it. Everything is so beautiful in that game. The design is lovely. But I think I would just implode. Genuinely just compact down into a black hole from playing that game. I could not do it.
I just love that that's on Switch and mobile phone. When that game released, it was obviously it's rocking its full 80s aesthetic, but it's it was such a weird game. It's so polished, and then it's we brought it to Switch, and then we brought it to phones. So yeah.
And it's really solid.
Sit on the toilet and play, and then you'll be fine.
You're already there.
I'm usually I'm usually fine with chasing stuff, but the Resident Evil 2 remake, where you can hear the footsteps of Mr. X, and just that, and I was fine with it in the Resident Evil 3 remake, when that was much more of a thing. That was for some reason totally fine, but in Resident Evil 2, just being chased and knowing that I'm being chased is just awful.
Yeah.
I think there's also the additional layer, and this happens in Dread for the most part, and in Resident Evil, and in what else did we just mention? I've just forgotten.
Warrior with
Alien Isolation.
Alien Isolation. Is the aspect of that the thing chasing you 9.9 times out of 10 can't be killed or stopped. There's nothing you can do. That thing is coming to get you, and the only way to get away from it is to get away from it, and that's it. And I think that really puts you on it. Well, I've
played 120 plus hours of Phantom Abyss. It's when I have 5 minutes, I just want to play something quick. I'll jump to that, see how well I do. And when the red angry one chases me down, because the others, they spawn in, they shoot a beam, throw some poison, whatever. Yeah, that's fine because they then spawn out. But the red one, when he spawns in, he just goes straight for you, and he just keeps coming at you. And sometimes when that gets super close and the whole screen starts to go red and the music sort of amps up a little bit, that can be just absolutely white knuckling the keyboard and mouse, trying to get away from it.
And the sound gets louder.
Yeah.
Actually,
just going. Go on. I was just gonna say, going back to the technical stuff, frame rates. I have a little bit of flexibility for. If it drops a little bit, I'm usually fine. Bad motion blur, or motion blur in general, can't do it. If there's not an option to turn off motion blur, that is not a game that I can play. And screen tearing, even if it's a single frame, every minute or so, if the screen tears, I'm totally out of it. And it frustrates me sometimes because I know so many people that are oh, I don't even see screen tearing, and it's I can't not see it. The screen tears for a 60th of a second, and I'm just well, I can't play this game anymore, right? I just immediately want to stop. I've been playing a game lately. I don't know if this when the embargo is, so I can't mention it, but it's got some of the worst screen tearing I've ever seen in a video game, and it's on the PS5 as well, so it's especially egregious there because it just shouldn't be happening. But
probably the game that was recently announced is never coming to Switch again.
Maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, it was, yeah. I couldn't keep playing it. It's just terrible. On non-technical things, the other thing that really gets me is I don't want to say it's body horror, but it kind of is. Is that when Samus gets stabbed by the Emmys in Metroid Dread, that truly terrifies me, right? Because like she's just getting impaled by these like things with spikes in their faces. But another like really weird one is like if there's any kind of like body horror with like hands, I can't do it. So like in Cyberpunk, right? The main character like can like pull this like cord out of his hand, and it just like it freaks me out so much. And like I think, you know, it's likely, you know, I have issues with my wrists, so it's like, you know, something happening to my hands and my wrists is like a very real thing, and it's kind of like that thing that Angelo said as well. We're getting into that age where like these things actually start affecting our bodies. But yeah, like I saw like, you know, 2 minutes of like Cyberpunk gameplay before I decided I couldn't do that, because if there were more scenes where he like pulls a fucking USB cable out of his hand, I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't understand.
Only maybe a half a dozen. It's not
Yeah,
a lot.
but like
you
one
must
is too
you
many.
must love the Borg. The Borg must be a complete nightmare.
No, I hate it.
One more
go
from me. So when I was a kid, I used to have like these terrible nightmares of I don't know if it was claustrophobia. I don't think it was claustrophobia. It was like these weird nightmares or these weird like cerebral experiences that I'd have as I was falling asleep when I was really small, that I was shrinking and things were getting bigger. And so like it was just this weird like it almost felt like I was sort of like just collapsing within reality. It was such a weird thing to describe. But I would have dreams of it happening as well. And I haven't had that feeling since I was really young. But then one game triggered it in me, and it just I felt so disoriented, and I had to pull the headset off of me. It was when I played I've just forgotten the name of it now. God, that music game that was on VR platforms. Thumper, yeah. When like there's this like giant like malevolent face that's right in front of you, and it's constantly morphing and changing shapes and things like that. But it's just unfathomably huge off in the distance, and it's constantly like pulsating and getting closer to you as well with the music and things. And the music just gets way, way more intense as you play, and heavier and louder and very thumpy and everything like that. And just, yeah, I hadn't sort of experienced that kind of dread since I was that young, and that really was like a holy crap moment. It's a cool game, super cool. I want to go back to it for sure. But like, yeah, it triggered something in me that I hadn't felt since I was like 4. It was nuts.
I want to bring up a nice note, just because we've done a whole bunch of like what terrifies us. Ollie was saying about motion blur. There was a game by Criterion called Black. It was a shooter. So Criterion are the folks that did Burnout. And it's the only game I've ever seen it happen in. When you reload the guns, the focus is pulled entirely on the gun, and everything outside of the gun goes blurry because you're not paying attention to something 600 meters away. And every time I play that game, I love that effect. It's such a simple thing, but it like just pulls me back into that world. So the whole thing with like blur and that, it's like the only time I'm happy to see things go out of focus in a game.
There's another game that does something similar in terms of like upgrading the gun. Like it literally like the character has the gun in front of them and they pull it and you look at it. And
Crisis does a bit of that.
Yeah, it's just a focus shift basically. It's just literally pulling the focus.
Definitely Crisis. When you change attachments, the background blurs.
That's
the
really
Switch
cool
version does that all the time.
Anyway, yeah, we've just given all of our listeners like a list of things to torment us with. So, you know.
Oh, I hate $1 million. Please don't torment me with that.
Yeah, that's my biggest gaming fear.
RTX 4090s.
Yeah. Sorry, every time we record, I see this, you know.
It's so good. I love that no one's deleted it. It's the best thing in the document.
Nobody's ever gonna know what
I've made a new run sheet, and it's like a whole new thing. I'm like, cool. Yeah. And then he's copied it across to the new run sheet as well.
Anyway, let's talk about the games that we're playing. I'll go first because it's a pretty short list. First of all, we're playing Disney's Gargoyles on the Switch, which is it's a visual layer slapped on top of an old Mega Drive game. It looks really, really nice. Unfortunately, it's still a Mega Drive game that kind of sucked, and I'm not really enjoying it that much because I can't figure out how to activate the cheats. I talked about this a little bit before we started, but there's cheats, but I don't know how to do them on the Switch version. So it's just insufferable to play, and you just get like comboed to death on stupid things, and it's like really unclear if you're actually like hitting an enemy.
You're getting the true 90s experience.
Yeah, it's like
You
wow.
have to buy next month's gaming magazine to find the cheats, or a cheat book.
The problem is like it's my job to be those gaming magazines now because I write a whole bunch of guides for work and stuff. So it's like it's my job to figure this out, and I can't figure it out. So like I don't know, I don't care. And then I've also been playing Super Mario Brothers Wonder, as like everyone on my Switch friend list has been. It's really, really good. I think in the second level is like a really perfect example of what Super Mario Brothers Wonder is. Anyone who's played it knows Piranha Plants on Parade.
So good.
Is so good.
There are a few moments like that. It's incredible.
I'm gonna jump in and say this now, and you'll probably hate me for it. But do you know what this game reminds me of?
What's that?
Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
No,
A lot of
I
foreground,
totally see it.
background switching, musical levels. It's
Absolutely.
But yeah, absolutely enjoying it. There's some like real tough platforming stuff in some of the more difficult levels, which is like basically official like Mario Kaizo stuff, which is fun. I can't do it, but it's fun that it exists. And then like the online is like a really pleasant addition. Just like there's like these levels where you have to like find coins, and like when you go in like just connected to the internet, even if you're not playing with other friends, like it just puts you into a lobby with random people, and then like you're all just like sort of like wandering around, and you can like shout out to people when you find a coin, and it's just like genuinely one of the best multiplayer experiences I've ever had on the Switch. And like going through levels as well, like there have been a few times where like because you get a bonus if you like finish the level at the same time as other players. And there have been a few times where like me and like two other players have been waiting for the fourth person, and we've just been like jumping around and like having fun and shit. Yeah, it's just really pleasant, and I think like that kind of like
I'm not discounting this multiplayer experience, but goddamn, that is such an incredibly low bar for the Switch. Like Switch multiplayer in my personal experience is just awful in every capacity. But it's good to hear this is good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough for me because like I have played like Splatoon 2 competitively, so like I do obviously have a lot of like really great memories of that, but like none of that was because of Nintendo's game design. And in this case, I think Nintendo's game design is really, really solid in its implementation of online play. And I think what they've done here hasn't really been done in any game before in terms of its online stuff. It's just kind of like a fresh new approach to online play that I don't think any other company would really go for in 2023. So
very much an asynchronous
because
multiplayer.
other companies would implement like a much more fuller multiplayer experience, but this one's pretty good though, I do agree.
I think for this kind of game, I don't think you would want anything fuller than this. Like for real, like it just. I think
for a Nintendo game, this is as full as it should get. Again, going back, it was a conversation we had before the Vookcast, but like just for like typical like child safety type things, like you don't want some jerk coming in and just absolutely munting your character all over the place and things.
Yeah,
I totally get that. Interfering in your experience.
Yeah, but yeah, it's really like pleasantly done, and I enjoy it.
You just reminded me that Among Us VR existed. I think that's the perfect example of why Nintendo would never want it.
Yeah. And then I bought Spider-Man 2 today. Spent $125 on that, which is too much for a video game. Why is that?
$99 on Amazon.
Yeah, but I have a digital-only console. I kind of fucked myself with that, and that I bought the digital edition.
Well, now you can get a disk drive that's detachable for your next.
Yeah, unfortunately, I probably will upgrade to the slim console just to save some space. But so I've played the very opening 2 hours of that just before we started, and that's fun. Looking forward to more of that. I mean, I've had it
the opening to that game is incredible.
It is, yeah. And then discovered that there's fall damage immediately after the opening, where I just because I played Miles Morales like a couple weeks ago, just like in the lead up to this, and like there isn't full damage there, right? If you hit the ground, you just like do a Spider-Man flip and then you're good. So I just like let that happen in Spider-Man 2 and just like plummeted to the ground and like broke all my bones, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that was a thing.
I genuinely don't know if I've ever just fallen before. Like
So
genuinely,
if you
in any of the Spider-Man games.
try and do any sort of maneuver just before you hit the ground, you roll. But if you don't, you just plummet straight down.
Well, I
literally don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah,
well, see, like there's like sometimes like things on the ground, and like I just want to like look at something, and I'll just like basically just jump off a building.
You're like, oh, a
look at it
coin.
real fast.
Fixing
I
that
just,
left
like, wanna
stick and
look
just
at-
dives.
Look at something on the ground, and I'll just like jump off a building, and then essentially just like let go of the controls because I know he's just gonna like land there. But in this one, like Miles' face just like smashed into the floor, and then he died, and I was like, okay, that's a fun new thing. But yeah, so yeah, that's my experience with Spider-Man 2 so far, is playing the opening and then smashing my face into the floor. So yeah, 10 out of 10 games so far. Yeah, Michael, what have you been playing?
I have been playing a PC game called The Talos Principle. I've played through the entire game. I played it.
It's also on Switch.
Yeah, awesome. I played through part of the game many years ago when it came out, and then I saw that the second game was coming out next month in maybe like 2 weeks or so.
November 3rd.
November 3rd, there you go. And I was like, oh man, I really should go back and actually finish that game. And then I just like streamed the entire game, and it was so good. I was like, why did I ever stop playing this game? If you enjoy puzzle games, it is this beautiful mashup of like Portal and a whole lot of other like little like puzzle like elements. It's fantastic.
It's kind of like The Witness, if you remember The Witness.
Yeah.
It
is
a little
like
more.
It's like, what if The Witness was good?
But yes, if you enjoy like puzzle games, it's great, and it's got an awesome story, and everything about it's wicked. And I cannot wait for the second game.
Just before you move on to the next game, can you believe, like, this blows my mind every single time I think about it. The people who make the Talos Principle is Crow Team, who also make Serious Sam, and I cannot think of two like more disparate things that a company could make. But yeah,
it's really beautiful. I've also been playing Spider-Man 2. I've been playing it. I'm well further in than Ollie is. I played a bit on Friday night, and then I had work yesterday, so I played it yesterday night, and then I've literally been playing it the majority of the day. I only stopped before the podcast because the game crashed. But it is very cool. I did the same thing in the first Spider-Man game and Miles Morales, where I sort of like stopped playing the story for like large segments and just like roam around the city doing like a ton of side quests. And I get to a point where I've done them all, and then I will just continue the story and just play the story to the end of the game. But I think I'm still ways off that. There's so much stuff to do in the city. The map is absolutely massive.
Apparently, like all of the side quests are like actual like story campaigns with like cutscenes and like they're full on things.
Yeah, they've all been like fantastic. Nothing like barred like the like attacks that happen like in the city, like like there's a mugging or like there's a fire or whatever. Like
the crime to get reported.
The crime stuff, the crime stuff's all like whatever. But all like the actual side mission stuff is like properly like thought out, and there's an absolute crap ton of it. But yeah, super enjoying that. And like I said earlier, while Spider-Man 2 was installing, I played a bit of Mario Wonder, and that was absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to get into that. And when Spider-Man 2 is over, I want to play Spider-Man 2 first because that's the game that's going to get spoiled for me. Like Mario Wonder is not really going to be a spoiler thing for the most part. I would say.
Trust me, there are definitely Spider-Man spoilers because like having to like do stuff for work with that, and then just like seeing stuff, it's like, man, I really wish I had not seen that.
Totally.
But you're in for a treat from what I've seen.
Yeah. So I just want to get that not out of the way because I love it. I enjoy playing it, but I want to get that done before I move on to Wonder. Yeah, that's me.
Angelo, what have you been playing? You're in a bit of a weird situation in terms of like consoles available to you, etc.
Yeah, so flying the other side of the country, I only took my laptop, my iPad, my Switch, and my Steam Deck with me. And so with the laptop, like I was able to play Game Pass cloud streaming stuff on there. So my partner and I finished off Halo Infinite on that. Interesting way to play that game. It kind of took me back to my dial-up days when I used to play Star Siege Tribes, where I got really good at playing with
love Tribes.
Dude, I love Tribes so much. I was so good at playing with really terrible lag in that game. And when I got broadband, I couldn't play it anymore because I could no longer shoot ahead of people. I had to shoot directly at them. It sucked so much. I had to stop playing. I couldn't do it anymore. And I basically was kind of doing that, like anticipating my moves a lot more because of like just the very, very small amount of lag that was in that. Also been playing a little bit of Grounded as well, over Game Pass. Cloud streaming, but in terms of playing on local hardware, also been playing Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Loving that game. As soon as I popped that game in, like I just had the biggest, goofiest grin on my face. It was just so good. The music is incredible. The visual style is incredible. The character, like just the overall character of the game is fantastic. I have to really, going on from what Ollie was saying, I have to really shout out to the online play here. I know I've kind of poo-pooed on a little bit more compared to other online games, but like this one is really, really good. I've actually been mostly playing it online with my partner, who's still in Adelaide, so I'm in Sydney on my own. So that's where we catch up, we play games together now. And what's great about this is that, yes, you appear in each other's games as like kind of ethereal entities, like they turn up in your game almost as like a ghost, where you can't really interact with them directly, except for when you get a superstar. If you get a superstar in Mario Wonder and you're playing online with someone, if you run past them and touch their character, they also get the superstar, so you power them up. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, you can play online the entire game through with someone else as well in your own private party. The only limitation is that if they're further ahead than you can't play a level that you haven't finished. So it's only ones that you're up to. You can't skip ahead because they're further in the game than you, for example. But yeah, absolutely incredible. Really loving that game. One interesting little touch that game does is anytime that you turn into your elephant characters, that I really, really love. The music, like I said, the music is great and the instrumentation is wonderful. But every time that you go big, the instrumentation immediately changes and lower instruments start playing, which is really cool. So like if there's a big brassy line,
I noticed that immediately. It's so good.
If there's a big brassy line that's played by trumpets, immediately like you start hearing trombones and tubas playing. Or if there's like a piano tune or something like that, it goes to the low end of the piano. It's just one of those little touches that I absolutely love. I love when games do that with audio. Also playing Tears of the Kingdom. I played it a little bit early this year, but I knew that it was a game that I'm going to really need to dedicate some time to. And thankfully, being over here on my own, I've got all the time in the world to do it now when I'm not working. So that's been my sort of main game to go through, and absolutely loving it at the moment. It's probably my favorite game of this year at the moment. Just absolutely loving it. I feel like a lot of the issues that I had with Breath of the Wild have really been fixed here. The whole weapon breaking thing, I'm kind of over it now. The way that I've been playing it so far, I'm doing so much exploration that I'm rarely even fighting anything, so I'm not even really using my weapons a whole lot. It's just a lot of exploration and flying around and jumping off things and climbing, etc., etc. So absolutely loving that. And then my oddball one is Deus Ex Human Revolution on the Steam Deck, and the only reason why I'm playing that is because I don't have my PS5 here and I'm missing out on Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. So I needed some sort of cyberpunky fix. I'm like, I'm gonna go back and play some Deus Ex.
I saw you playing it the other day when I was playing through the Talos Principle. And like, I don't know if the game was crashing or your internet was going down, but it popped up about 864,000 times that you were playing you were playing the game, and I was like, what is going on?
That's so strange. If that happens, just block me or something.
No, it's fine. It's just made me laugh.
Yeah.
Just like at the beginning, you're like, I only came with my 18 gaming consoles. And I was like, this is such a first world problem.
Really only 2 gaming consoles and then 2 portable computers. Yeah.
I just want to point out quickly on Super Mario Brothers Wonder, because you mentioned the music. The lead composer on that is Shiho Fuji, who's done a bunch of different games, but she mostly did Splatoon stuff. So she was behind songs like Calamari Incantation, which was like the big like finale song in the original Splatoon. Mm-hmm. And then just all sorts of like really fantastic stuff. She's one of my favorite composers right now. She did a lot of the music for Super Mario Odyssey. So yeah, and obviously Animal Crossing as well. So yeah, it's really nice to see see younger composers like start stepping into roles. There's another one, Shisaki Shimasu. Like this is her first time doing any Nintendo game composition on that. So yeah, there's also an all women composer team, which like hell yeah.
Cool. Just quickly on that, you're saying that like younger composers. I think what also really helps Mario Wonder is that this game feels very youthful, and I think that's because this is like the next generation that everyone's been talking about for years now. The next generation of game developers.
The passing of the torch.
I feel like this is like that first full-fledged Mario game that has been mostly spearheaded by a youthful development team. You can sort of see that in the fact that the game no longer has a countdown timer when you're playing levels. Like there's no rush to finish.
Or
these
like
levels
a score as well.
Yeah.
Or a score. When you play on, I think there is definitely a score when you play online with people, but it's only a very like light competitive thing. Like this person got 900 points, this person got 800 points.
There are also timers in some Wonderflower sections.
Yeah, but like that's
yeah,
and
related to the mechanics rather than just the level in general. Yeah.
And there is like an optional competitive thing where if you're playing online with people, like, you can make it a race type of thing. But then, if that's a mistake, you can just cancel it. So yeah, I think just overall, this game just feels like a completely new Mario game, which is incredible. We haven't had like a fully fledged new, like we talked about Mario Odyssey a couple episodes back and how like that game was great, but it felt like it was treading similar water to some previous 3D Mario games. Whereas this is, yes, a 2D Mario game, but it just feels like it's been injected with a whole new just sense of personality and everything. Like, yeah, I love it. Anyway, I'll stop talking. Luke.
Luke, what games have you been playing?
I have played through and finished Spider-Man because I got that for review back in September. Played through Mario Wonder, finished that. Played through Company Heroes, finished that on Switch. Forza Motorsport on Xbox
Company
and
Heroes on
Borderlands 3.
Switch. Wow, how did that play on Switch?
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a super solid port. Yeah,
it is an incredible port, and the best thing. So the textures are bumped up from the original PC release, but the best thing is Company Heroes 3 on console and PC, they include what they call tactical pause. So you can pause the game, but then issue a whole bunch of commands and then unpause the game and they get carried out.
Kind of like an RPG?
Essentially. But Feral Interactive brought that feature to this version of Company Heroes. So it's the only version of the first game that has that feature, and it makes it so much better, like so good. So... but yeah, so I played through a lot. As I said, I finished Spider-Man. I'm 88% complete on that one. And it's no spoiler to say that Venom's in the game. He's in the marketing and everything.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But
was it
Tony
like
Todd,
19 inches of Venom or something? What was that joke?
Oh my god.
Good God.
I'm probably like, I don't know how many hours I'm deep into it now. Maybe like close to 10. I've not seen Venom like at all. So I'm just like... Yeah, it's good.
That's the thing. When all these like spoilers started leaking and people were making up all these assumptions about what this means and all that, I'm just like, But I will say the Tony Todd, and if you don't know Tony Todd, he's one of those actors in a lot of stuff. He was in The Rock with Sean Connery and Nick Cage. The thing that he's probably best known for, he is the Candyman from the horror series The Candyman. He's the Candyman, but he's got that really deep gravelly voice, and when you hear him do the We Are Venom, it's honestly, it gave me chills, and I'm like, okay, this is Venom, because like Tom Hardy's Venom in the movies, it's like his voice but not Venom. It's just not right. This is like the perfect voice for Venom. It's just fantastic. So there's that. Mario Wonder.
How many hours was Spider-Man for you?
22, 23. So I just power through it because that's what I have to do for reviews. But the again, like I had a few crashes, but again, I was doing it. There were a few post day one patches that I had to wait for things. There was one I had instances where like things were clipping through objects and all that. Just all that sort of stuff. But a lot of that.
The only persistent issue that I've had with the game is that in the game there's these tech part crates that are on like buildings and on the ground and whatnot. I don't know what the coding is for standing next to that crate and pressing
Gotta be
triangle
like
to open it.
right in this very.
It is like the window must be like a micron thick. It's super annoying to press for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But that's the only like issue I've had with the game.
I had a few issues. Like one of the ones, I had like a random crime literally down the street. I could see it ahead of me, and I was swinging towards it, and then 50 meters away from it, it just vanished. It's like, well, crime solved on that one. Off I go. So,
It took too long. The police stepped in.
Yeah, pretty much. But I played through Mario Wonder, and I'll be honest, it didn't set the world on fire for me. Like, the animations, I think the game looks incredible. Like when you're in elephant form and you try and squeeze through a door, like you know whoever you're playing as just like gets stuck and tries to wiggle through and all that sort of stuff. Like all that's fantastic. But the Wonder Flower, honestly, half of the times that activates, it's like, what's the point of this? There's nothing happening. And more than often than not, I kept getting Yoshi's Island vibes from it, right? When Yoshi turns into a helicopter or whatever. Like I kept getting that vibe. It's like, okay, that's cool, but it's not changing things up. I'm still playing a platformer, right? I'm still doing Mario stuff. I was really hoping it would be like really fresh stuff, and I think that's because I can never think of his name, but he's the like Tezuka, the other Mario guy, right? Not Miyamoto, the other one. He's still involved in it.
Tezuka.
That's him. And I think him being involved in it is still holding it back. It's like I get why, but at the same time, it's like he should have just stepped away and let a whole new team do everything they sort of wanted to do. And as I said earlier, like I don't like the voices. I tried playing with Mario for like, I think I got through like 6 or 7 stages. I was like, nope, not for me. Changed to Luigi, was even worse. So I went to Daisy, and I played through 95% of the game as Daisy, because I do not like the new voices. They are not.
I would say Daisy is a choice. If I was like not liking Mario and Luigi, like Daisy would be my last pick. Peach is wonderful. I played as Toadette for like a couple hours. But Daisy, man, just
I'd never liked the Toad voices, so
that's
it's
fair.
too screechy for me. But
Gotta say that I, for one, am happy that we've continued the time-honored tradition of the Vookcast, that at least one of us hates a thing that Nintendo has done.
look,
It wouldn't be us if one of us didn't hate it, right?
I live in the video game, in the voice actor world. Like I'm forever, in that world and all that. And I've said this before, and I said in my review. When Disney recast Mickey Mouse, right, they didn't look for someone who could put their own spin on Mickey Mouse. They went for someone who was able to do the Mickey voice, right? When they did Minnie, they found someone to do the Minnie voice, right? Because it wasn't that they wanted an actor to make the character their own. They wanted an actor who could make the character that existed, that everyone already knew, become alive again, right? And I think with this one, with what's his name, Kevin, right? He's at times he's trying to do a Martinet impression, and at times he's not. And it's like, okay, you either are doing the impression or you're not doing the impression. You got to pick one side of the coin. You can't go back and forth at all times. And the voice just isn't the same. And I'm not saying it needed to be the whole, it's like all the time, but it's like it just didn't click for me, right? I hear that voice and I go, well, that's not Mario. Right, and other people may say that's fine. I hear Mario in that. It's like, well, that's great for you, but I'm like with audio to Michael with frame drops. Right, I hear audio, and if it's not right, I notice it, and I disconnect from it.
Yeah,
So,
I think
you're going to be unhappy when you find out Chris Pratt voiced Mario in the Mario movie.
well, that's the thing. Like going into that, like the moment they said Chris Pratt, I was like, okay, cool. But I knew the Mario voice that Charles Martinet was doing wouldn't work as a speaking role for a 90-minute movie. It just wouldn't work, right? So I knew going in that would be why. But this is like, it's a new Mario game. It's like, cool. It's the same character that we've known for 30, 40 years in a speaking capacity.
So this is the point I was just about to make, though. Like, I've only played it for like roughly an hour, though, but I feel like it is a different Mario. Mario has so much, in the 1 hour that I played, he has so much personality and shows so many like cool little twerks around his character of how the way his body moves. I feel like this almost like necessitated like a new voice to Mario, because this is a little bit different.
that same argument could be made for Paper Mario to Mario, right? So Paper Mario on 64 to Super Mario 64. They're two different types of Mario, but the voice is the same.
See, I would be totally okay if Paper Mario had a totally different voice, though. Like, that's the thing, right? Is that, like, I don't know. I feel like I agree with Michael on this, but, like, I totally understand, like, wanting. It's kind of that thing where it's like, you know, it's a familiarity with different context, right? Is that, like, this looks and feels like a Mario game, but it doesn't sound like a Mario game to you, so it feels off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally understand that, but yeah, I mean,
I will say though, like the thing that I'm sort of loving are the purple coins. So in Mario U, when they had the coins, like there was one level you had to go in from the back of the level, and it was like you had to, like, the map went one way and you had to go through a secret exit on another world to come in from the back of the level to enter it. And when you did, you entered from the back of the level, which dropped you below the flagpole. And I remember it because it took me forever to work out how to do it. And when I worked it out, I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding. Like, who thinks to come in from a different side of the map, right? So the purple coins being sort of all over the place. Some are just, you know, high jumps, and some are like hidden in all the different things. That, like, I enjoy that challenge. But yeah, for the most part, I'm like, this is just new Super Mario Brothers U, but with like a different look to it. Like, there's nothing gameplay wise to me that I'm like, this is the Breath of the Wild refresh for a 2D Mario. So
I could not more strongly disagree, but again, it's good that we have these disagreements.
I mean, but like, I think one of the more interesting functionalities that was mechanics they've added to the game are the badges as well. Like, it gives Mario a whole new ability that you can just switch in and out of too. And I absolutely love the parachute cap. I'm just constantly using that thing. Like, anytime I get a new ability, I'm like, okay, that's nice. I'm going back to the parachute cap now.
I do like the expert ones, like the always running. That one's always fun because, you know, you can't stop.
The always jumping one was fun.
The always jumping is interesting. The one that's terrifying is the invisibility.
Yeah.
If there's something like there's layers right behind you, you see a shadow, but the moment you're in like an open plane or in the clouds, you can't see shit. You can't see anywhere where you are. So I was tapping the spin. So I'm in the end, I'm like spin, just so I can get the little clouds from the spin, so I know where I am. Because the number of times I've jumped and missed the platforms, I'm like, oh crap. You know, you have to.
I'm loving the wall jumping challenges because it takes me right back to my training on Super Meat Boy. I was like, yes, this is what I trained for 10 years ago.
I cannot wait to start playing this game properly. I'm very excited.
Dude, you're gonna love it. You're gonna really enjoy it. And it's fun if you have some people to play with as well, like 1 or 2 people that you can just do a few levels with or something. Have some light.
Pretty much every single person on my friends list is playing this game. I do not think it'll be a problem.
It's so good.
Also, that's something that's I think unique to Nintendo. Is when Nintendo put out a game, generally speaking, like your entire friends list will be like playing that same game at launch or within like the week of launch, whereas it doesn't necessarily happen on PlayStation or Xbox. I think that's kind of a unique Nintendo thing.
Depends on the game.
I think it happens more on Xbox than it does on PlayStation, just because it's always on Game Pass. And everybody who has an Xbox has a Game Pass. But I have like 4 friends on Xbox, so maybe that skews it. But like 2 of them are in this chat, so yeah. All right, that's probably enough about what we've been playing. I don't think we've been recording for so long. Let's get into Nintendo 20 questions.
This is going to be a monster-length podcast.
Sure is. Yeah. So, Angelo, you've picked a spooky game for us, apparently.
I have. No,
so,
I'm not going to say anything, except that. Maybe it wasn't a great choice. No, I'm just thinking. Okay, whatever. Go for it.
Glad you cleared that up.
If we have a problem, it's on me.
Okay. Was this game released on or after January 1st, 2010?
No.
Okay, the same question, but January 1st.
Oh, yes. Hello, welcome to macOS.
What is happening?
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. Okay.
Yeah.
Will that work?
You can do the love heart or do the same thing but with love hearts.
I've got the tracker on the side of the screen, Angelo. You don't need to do it.
No, it should do. It's not working.
Goodness me. Same thing, but for the year 2000. Yeah.
Actually, I need to do it for myself. No.
Okay. It's
Hang on,
older
so it
than
wasn't released on or
2000.
after January 1st, 2000, right?
No.
So it was before that.
More than likely a
So,
90s game.
NES 64, Game Boy Color.
I'm bending the rules here. It's not a Nintendo game at that point. I'm just going to give you that one as a freebie.
Oh, what the F?
Okay, so it was something that originally released on something else, and then later came to Nintendo, I guess. Okay, we'll just use that as one of our questions. What I've just described, is that the correct
Pretty.
situation? Alright, yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, cool.
All right.
So we have to
All right. So
go to
we would
an
not
old-
think about. Sorry, just to clarify, we would not think about this release date being the newer release date. We would 100% think about this game.
This
came
is the
out.
original release day. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna immediately assume it's the Mega Drive because it's Angelo.
I thought this was Nintendo 20 questions, not Sega 20 questions. What's going on?
I mean, it is eventually Nintendo 20 questions.
Well, it's the
Um,
Spookcast. Anything can happen.
Oh god, this opens it up so much. Like my brain is like not able to compute like what's going on.
Man. My brain was just immediately going through all of the different consoles. I was like, when the fuck did the Dreamcast come out? I don't even know.
All right, is this a
I think
2D
I know what
game?
it is.
Yeah, I would argue, yes, it is a 2D game.
Okay. What do you think it is, Luke? Just your
It's
early
Gargoyles.
guess. Reckon it's Gargoyles?
Because that was Mega Drive up until a week ago.
That'd be
That's
hilarious if it's the Gargoyles and Angelo didn't realize that you'd played it.
Is this a licensed game?
No, it's not.
Okay, so
there
it's
we go.
not Gargoyles.
Oh man, I'm so stuck on where to even start.
I mean,
It
we
knocks
should
out
ask-
a lot of the Capcom stuff because they did a lot of Mega Drive-y platformer stuff that eventually.
So
hit
just to
other
recap,
platforms.
you know it was made before the 2000s, and then
Yeah.
it eventually came to a Nintendo console.
What about
Yeah.
Symphony of the Night?
Oh, okay, hold on. Did this game release on a Nintendo console in its roughly original form? Like it wasn't like a complete remake?
No, it wasn't a remake, no.
So yeah, it released at roughly how it was when it first came out.
Yeah, I would say
Cool.
so, yeah.
Did this game originally release on a disc-based console?
Yes.
Right.
So that knocks out Mega Drive and that. So we're with Saturn.
PlayStation, Saturn,
PlayStation.
or Dreamcast.
I thought the Dreamcast was after 2000, or was it?
No, the night of 99, my friend. That date's
birthday,
burnt
wow.
into my brain. Yeah, my birthday. Or a really obscure other console.
3DO,
3DO, Jaguar. Or Sega CD.
Oh yeah.
Is this game part of a series?
No.
Okay. That's not
Interesting.
any Castlevania or anything.
Also knocks out Resident Evil 2 because that was initially PS1, but then came to 64.
That also released before 2000. Oh, did it? No, wait. Did it release before 2000?
I can't tell you.
I think it did.
Standalone game that's not licensed, that's not part of a series, that originally started on another company's console and then eventually
Yeah,
came
that's
to
the scariest
Nintendo.
part about this game is that it wasn't released on a Nintendo console.
It's really giving us a big spook, huh?
Is the developer of this game still in business today?
That's a good question. Let me just consult
Can
my...
you furiously Google this right now?
No, it is not.
So that knocks out things like Konami, Capcom.
Should we ask if it was a Sega console? I mean, I feel like it has to have been, but it's not set in stone, you know?
Wipeout.
Because
no,
like,
it's part of a
PlayStation
series. Never
exists
mind.
as well.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It launched on PlayStation first and then came to 64.
Yeah.
But it's definitely part of a series.
Just so we can start narrowing down consoles, which we still don't actually have.
Yeah, that's fair. Do it.
Alright, did this game originally release on a Sega console?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, so it's a Saturn game. Or a Dreamcast game.
Or a Sega CD game. That really doesn't narrow it down.
Yeah,
does
that
it?
really just didn't narrow down anything. Fuck.
We knocked out one. Wow, we knocked out Jaguar and all that sort of stuff.
Was it? Would this game be classified as an FMV game?
Yes.
Hey.
It's Night Trap.
So that should be 10, I think. 10 questions.
It is, yeah.
I was like,
I mean, it's gotta be.
As soon as the 90s was in there and it was a CD game, I was like, man, it might be an FMV game.
The other one that I was thinking of was Nights into the Dream.
I mean,
Did
I
anyone know
think
anything specific about Night Trap to ask?
I know it has vampires in it, but this is a Spookcast, so that could describe like any possible game that this is.
Was this game re-released onto Switch?
Yes.
Okay.
Night Trap
Night
out
Trap.
on Switch?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Because that knocks out things like hitting, Sega CD and then coming to 64 or some bullshit like that.
I mean, I can't think of like any what other FMV game would we actually know? Is the thing.
Plumbers don't wear ties.
Angelo's not gonna pick something that like we wouldn't know. I mean, maybe. But I feel like it has to be Night Trap just because it is an FMV game and did get released on the Switch. And was
Does
like
this
very
game have
famously.
Trap in the title?
True question.
I mean, it can be if the guys agree, but I honestly don't know anything
Alright.
about the game. So
It feels cheap, but we could ask the meta question.
Oh, go ask the meta question, yeah. Because that's the only FMV game we've said, right? I think we've said another one.
well, I said another one, but it's definitely not that.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't hear
yeah.
the other one. What was the other one, Luke?
Plumbers don't wear ties.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, have we mentioned this game?
Yes.
Okay.
And the only reason I know it's not Plumbers Don't Wear Ties is because that never hit any Nintendo platform. And the only reason I know it is because limited run games keep spamming stills from that crap on their Twitter feed. And the only reason I follow them is because I need to know when they actually ship my stuff because they're still taking forever.
They're never gonna ship it, man.
No.
I'm willing to take the L if it's not Night Trap.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, give it a go. I think I don't think it could be anything else. So
I literally couldn't come up with a question and narrow it
Cool.
down anyway. So
Is this game Night Trap?
Okay, so I think that was your 14th question. On your 14th question, published by Sega, developed by Digital Pictures, which is no longer around. They closed up shop in 1996. It is the 1992 FMV game that was absolutely marred in controversy alongside the famous Mortal Kombat game, at which point both Nintendo and Sega were pulled up to front Congress amongst a bunch of hearings regarding violence in video games and sexism in video games. The game was re-released in 2018 with the 25th anniversary edition on the Switch's eShop. It is Night Trap
Nice.
for the Sega CD.
Oh
Yeah,
man, I'm
that-
so
that-
glad I asked that question.
That Senate hearing led to the ESRB, which in turn led to classification systems in pretty much every
Mhm.
country. So yeah, that's
Thanks, Night Trap. You ruined gaming for the rest of us.
well,
so
Night Trap
the
is
thing
solely
is-
responsible for us not having an R rating in games for 30
The
years.
longest time.
Have you guys actually watched that hearing? It's on YouTube, on the C-SPAN channel or something like that.
I've
You guys
seen
watched it?
little bits of it.
I watched the whole thing. It's a couple of hours long or something like that. It's so nuts. It's absolutely nuts to go through because at one point, is it Howard Lincoln? Was he the president of Nintendo at the time? Yeah, Howard Lincoln. He went on record to say that as long as Nintendo is making video games or something along those lines, Night Trap will never be on a Nintendo console. And then in 2018, it came to a Nintendo console. That's bonkers.
Well,
I love-
someone
So he
sent him to
perjured.
jail for perjuring himself. Yeah.
I love that. A version was also released on the PlayStation Vita. Why not?
Of course it was. I mean,
Yeah.
why not?
The 25th
Everything's on the
anniversary.
Vita.
So the 25th anniversary edition was actually released in 2017 on other consoles, but it finally came to Switch a year later. So it's really the 26th anniversary edition.
Nice.
What a time! Night Trap.
Good game.
Good call.
Good
Yeah.
choice. Oh, sorry. The game is bad. Good choice for a game.
Yeah. I only just realized when we started 20 questions, I'm like, shit, it didn't actually release on a Nintendo console originally. And that's why I was like, oh, well, we have to bend the rules here a little bit, guys.
It's fun.
No, I mean, it is a good pick.
But
It is a
was
terrible
relevant,
game,
it was
though.
relevant.
I watched a thing about the mechanics of that game recently, and it is almost unbeatable.
Yeah,
it
it's
is
awful.
literally
Absolutely.
almost not able to be completed. So yeah,
Well, on the
Concept.
cover, it says it does have over 1.5 hours of full motion video. So there is that. It is a major.
All of it-
all the rage.
It is a
all
feature
of-
film length game.
all of the video looks like cheap 90s porn clips. So,
Oh man.
but I mean, good for them. They were doing something different, and then changed games forever with it inadvertently.
30 years later, we're still talking about it, so
Well, yeah, true.
Mm.
All right, well, that about wraps up this week's Vookcast. So be sure to visit the site, www.vooks.net, for all your Nintendo news, reviews, and everything in between. To keep up to date, follow the site on Twitter at vooks.net, which is all spelled out, or jump on over to our Discord, which, again, you can enter a competition if you listen to the last episode at bit.ly/vooksdiscord. If you want to enter the competition, you have to listen to the last episode, and then you have to put your answer in the Discord. You can't just do one of those things. So you can find all
put
of
an
our...
answer in the Discord, but if it's not, relevant to the question that we asked,
Exactly.
it's not going to count. So
You can find all of our social information, links to all the stories covered in the episode notes on whatever platform you're listening to. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next fortnight.
Night Trap is older than the voice of Mario.
Hi, this is Charles Martinet, and you're listening to the Vooksnet Vookcast. Woohoo!